Hello, how are y'all? You good? Yeah? Okay, my name's Atreyu Lewis. Ani Bojo. I'm Deer Clan from Toronto. I'm doing good today. I'm a McGill student. I'm in my second year in History and Indigenous Studies. I've been here since like August of 2020. I've done several protests, teach-ins. I do a lot of community work. I've been doing stuff with Shake Up the Establishment. They're a nonpartisan climate justice organization on social media. It's really nice to be here today and just talk to y'all. Thank you to all the amazing speakers so far. Let's give it a hand for them. Yeah. Amazing. So I use they, he pronouns. I'm a trans masculine, non-binary individual. I came out as trans in October of 2021, just after my birthday, my 19th birthday. I have lived experiences as an Indigenous person and a racialized South Asian person, Punjabi person. And honestly, I've learned a lot since I've been here in Montreal about Montreal in general and McGill and positionality, you know, as a queer trans individual, a racialized body. I just want to talk about intersectionality, really. We all have our own positionalities. We're all settlers or Indigenous or racialized or queer or trans. Everyone here has a position. They have power, like the last speaker just said. We all have power. We all have the ability to speak up, to use our voice, to post, to share, to attend these type of teach-ins and protests. Climate change is a very real issue. I've been an advocate for it for a while now and working in the community, trying to be grassroots. And I want to talk to y'all about grassroots education and grassroots resources, how you can't rely on nonprofits, you can't rely on Government of Canada, Department of the Interior to give us what we want and need. I want to talk to y'all about environmental racism. So today is Global Climate Strike Day. We're talking about climate change, but I want y'all to know a bit about environmental racism. So I recently did a case study on the reserve system in Canada. A lot of Indigenous peoples live on reserves. Some live off reserve in cities, towns. And the reserve system, you've heard of a lot of posts, you've seen them, you know, no clean drinking water, pipelines, no resources for school programming, there's high suicide rates, high grocery prices. You've seen a lot of this on social media. And that was because of the Bagot Report and the Gradual Enfranchisement of Indians Act, how the Government of Canada, British Crown said, Indians shouldn't be in society, that we should be living in these places far from our territories and not have those resources. Make no mistake, those policies were made to kill us. They were made to kill us. And I want you to know that right now. As someone who's done a lot of research, I've also been a squash player. I just did the Canadian Open last year in December. I was like a openly trans person, trans masculine person playing in the men's category. It was a really amazing event, you know, growing up and just wanting to play in that category, play with the boys and just play the sport the way I want to play it as an openly trans masculine person, as a non-binary person. There's a lot of research that's been going around about Indigenous communities, and as an Indigenous person in academic spaces, I want to make sure that when I'm doing research, I'm doing it for a community. I'm not just speaking like pan-indigeneity, I'm not just giving general, I want to speak for the communities that I'm a part of, and as an Anishinaabe person. So yes, I'm Anishinaabe, I'm mixed, I come from Batchewana First Nation, Sault Ste. Marie, but I grew up in Toronto. And I just want to share one statistic with y'all. So as a squash player doing research for Squash Canada, 41% of reserves of these communities are like over 100 kilometers away from the nearest community center. I want y'all to understand that this type of placement, this displacement of Indigenous peoples has always been intentional because they've always known our place as stewards. And they're scared of that. They're scared. And they made these policies hundreds of years ago and they still have an effect now with how a lot of people on reserves are living and they're struggling to get employment and they're struggling to get these resources. I want to talk about Montreal too. Montreal, y'all are unceded. This is unceded, unsurrendered. Like nobody signed anything, nobody gave up anything. And like, I just want to say to the cops for a second, y'all are like around here. Hi, you have no power over us, thank you. Know your place. Like, thank you, cars. Yeah, and this is Georgiage, this is Ganagahage land, this is indigenous land. And I want y'all to understand that yes, white supremacy, racial capitalism as well. Racial capitalism, and that Canadian policies, government policies, the reason they were created is to remove Indigenous presence and Indigenous ways of life in everything. Food sovereignty, to remove that. They tried to remove our ceremonies to land. There were so many hunting bans that still exist, and there's a lot of prejudice too in northern communities for hunting and fishing and gathering and all of these things. As someone, living in a city, I'm not much of a hunter or a gatherer, but learning to forage and even just making my own cedar tea, like that's such an act of resistance for Indigenous youth to be able to do that, to have food sovereignty and like speak on climate change with their lived experiences. It's so important. And I just want to tell y'all just to go grassroots, Go grassroots. Protests like these, events like these are run by communities who are grassroots, who don't rely